This is the Round Table, a talk show brought to you by the Glastonbury Goddess Conference. In this circle, the priestesses of the ceremonial circle, the weavers of our annual gathering, talk about pivotal topics about our community, spirituality, and goddess. Good evening, everyone, goddess community, beloved followers that follow us through YouTube, Facebook Live right now, or on our podcast. You're all very welcome to this roundtable. The topic for today is really juicy, but just before we sink our teeth into that, I would love to introduce you this year's Goddess Conference. So here is the Goddess Conference, Goddess of Healing. Join us this year for the 29th Glastonbury Goddess Conference, a joyful gathering of goddess-loving people, a 6 days in-person event in Glastonbury, Avalon, running from Tuesday 30th July to Sunday 4th August 2024, with the fringe events starting from Sunday 28th July. This year the theme is the Goddess of Healing. It's our maiden year, the first year of a new 5-year cycle. International presenters, transformative workshops and experiences, deep ceremonies on the sacred land of Avalon, community, art, fun, and love for Goddess. Let your healing journey begin this year. Join us for the Glastonbury Goddess Conference, Goddess of Healing. There are so many options to participate: full conference tickets, weekend tickets, day tickets. Find what suits you best and get your ticket now at goddessconference.com. And welcome back. We are here today with the amazing priestesses of the ceremonial circle of the Glastonbury Goddess Conference. Let me introduce you, Mariam Brigantia.
Hello.
Angie Twidell.
Hi, everyone.
And Stephanie Allison Schudel.
Hello.
Today's topic is toxic sisterhood. We are facing two main questions for this topic to start. When does the circle of equals become a trap for your own development? And also, how can we build healthy sisterhoods? And how do we spot when sisterhood wounding rules our choices? To start with this topic, I would like to thank everyone for the massive following over the past few episodes. And I would love to give the mic to Stephanie Allison Schudel to start with this conversation. Welcome to the roundtable.
Oh, thank you so much, Andrea. Hello to everybody. Wow, what a juicy topic it is. It really goes pretty deep. And it's been spiraling through my head, of course, the last couple of days since we've gotten the topic, and especially today, going through all the different waves that come. It is a juicy topic because we all have our wounding around sisterhood. And a couple of years ago, I found this text on Facebook, and it said that people come into your life for a reason, for a season, or a lifetime. And for me, that is a big thing to consider in all of this wounding work, or all this this craving for sisterhood, for a healthy sisterhood. We all want to have that healthy sisterhood that belongs to the goddess community, and we all have it inside of ourselves, but we all also have our wounding, and we carry our shit. Sorry, am I allowed to say that?
Yes.
As it is. And for me, I've went through the sisterhood wounding, and through past lives. I mean, we all have our issues from there, but also since childhood, I was always very different and always had a hard time really making friends or trying to fit in somewhere. So I always had this craving of belonging and wanting to belong to a healthy sisterhood, and always tried to build that myself, because I have that in my head that can work. And that is something that I hold on to very, very dearly throughout my work, through everything that I do. I have friends that I've had since for years and years, and I cherish them. And sisterhood, having other women around me equals it's something so beautiful and so rewarding. Even though there is wounding, of course, and we all carry that part. But I think the only way to really step into healthy sisterhood is when we completely own what's up. We own our shadow. We own all the feelings and all the masks and everything that comes with it, that we have to own that and not be afraid to also go into what we want from sisterhood, what we are actually craving for, and not, like shying back because of our wounding. Because I think that happens a lot, is that we shy away or we exclude ourselves because of these woundings. And I myself, I've had it came in waves throughout my whole life. I mean, I lost a lot of women around me, also from my previous tribe. And when I got pregnant, which is really interesting, because I was in this place of having that role and taking care of everybody. But from the moment I was pregnant, people started falling away. And it's really interesting. But I also trust in Goddess that she will bring the right people to me, and that the right people will fall away that have to, even though it's so painful, and we have to go through the waves of pain and everything that comes up. But I hold on to the trust in Goddess that she knows exactly who is right around me, or who I need to have around me to grow, to learn, and that she will take care of that. And also the other key is to really, really focus and hold on to, I believe we can create healthy systems. I believe that down to my core, that is possible. And that is what I stand for. Even when the waves are here and the wounding is here and all the scheiß is here, it belongs to us all. We're here to learn. But those are the two things that I completely trust in Goddess and in I know it's possible. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm standing. What about you?
Well, yeah, that's really, I like that you end up on a very positive note. I think for my own journey, it's, I always say, it's almost a bit ironic where I ended up being in, because in my I have got like proper as a girl, I had proper wounding around other girls, and really I've become, and I think I'm an introvert anyway, but to trust, to be trusting towards especially girls. Actually, I have generally more trust in boys and in my childhood and men now than in women, which is, I know, is my wounding, and I'm totally aware of that. But I'm just very careful. I'm very careful who I put my trust in, but then I do say, when people are in my heart, they will never leave, and it's. Yeah, so that's the thing. I think if you, for me, it's really about my own behavior as well. I really try to honor that sisterhood when it's there, but I've also learned not to be attached, because, like you say, people leave, and some people leave, just because that's what it is, life, and some people leave in a not so nice way. And I think that is I've learned to protect myself. In the ceremonial group, I have learned to really trust sisterhood. I think that's the first circle in my whole life where I learned, maybe my own priestess training as well. Because there were, when I was doing my priestess training in the Netherlands, the women who are in there, not like we see each other or we have constant contact, but I know that they are there. And if there's something, I can reach out to them. It's like, so that's, and even during the training, there were quite a few things that, we were up against each other or like that. But so that's really where I felt the first trust. So I think but that's your journey quite a long time. And I think that is for me, well, in the ceremonial group as well, that you journey so long together, you know so much of each other, of your devotion to goddess and your ways of practice. And we know, everybody knows we're not just talking about the ceremonies, we're also talking about our own lives and how our relationship with the goddess of healing is this year, for instance. So you learn a lot about people, and I think that has helped me to grow to trust. But I am still very, very careful in who I trust, especially in women.
Yeah.
What about you?
Thank you, Marianne. It's a really deep question. And when I sit and reflect on it, I think about my carefree attitude as a child, that loving, wild, free, innocent, that everyone loves each other. And when I moved to Glastonbury, I really felt, it's going to be like being in a hive, everyone looking after each other, everyone being there for each other. And being Priestess of Rhiannon, Goddess of Love, that was just my way of being. And so when I started to experience toxic sisterhood, sister shadow, whatever label you want to give the particular wounding, I knew that I had to find out more about it. I had to sort of unpick it, because it is painful to be on the receiving end of it. Heartbreaking, actually, a betrayal. And whatever the core wound we carry, and for me it was betrayal, I felt betrayed, and then abandoned. It runs deep. It runs so deep, and the reactions to it, and there are different levels within myself. When I was on the receiving end, I started looking at what am I projecting onto that other person, and what are they projecting onto me, and what's beneath it all. And actually, over the years, I've really come to notice that the sister shadow is linked in with the mother wounding. And that really helped me when I did the luminary leadership training with Lynn, and I'm sure you'll agree, Marion. But for me, the penny dropped when we start looking at the shadow aspects of the enneagram, really. It's a bit of a classification system to how you understand other people. So especially in groups, what makes people think, what's their shadows, what's their ego, what makes them tick, how can I best approach them and work with them? So we all know we're all different. That's a hard lesson. That's a really hard lesson, that we're not all necessarily coming from a conscious place of love. There can be unconscious energetics playing out through their behaviors. And it comes in waves. Our beautiful water priestess has said that already. It comes in waves and waves. This and there's it's actually a wave right now. It comes to students, it comes to sisters, it comes in families, and it keeps coming up because it needs to be healed. And working with 𝗥𝗢𝗨𝗡𝗗 this year, shape-shifting goddess, yes, but come on, bring it up and out. That's what we're being shown, for sure.
Yeah, it's great that you noticed that you mentioned the luminary training, because I think for me, and that is also what I do in my teachings, is that one of the things I think that helps with, because as you say, I think a lot of toxic sisterhood, that kind of implies that people are doing it on purpose. And I don't think that a lot of time that's not what it is. I think a lot of time people act from their wounding. And as you say, with the Enneagram, you can understand people's where they come from, and you can communicate to that bit. You can, and I think communication is key here if you go to toxic sisterhood. I don't know if you remember, Angie, that years ago, I don't even know what it was about anymore, but I felt quite threatened by you, and I actually said it to you, and just opening up in that vulnerability to you, and you holding that really well, that just took away that whole fear place in me.
I do remember it, Marion. I do, and it was. I think it was the competitive edge. you know, new priestess coming in, she's going to do another training, will she take my students? All of that possibly could have
yeah,
been
the
going
goddess
through
of
your mind.
healing. Yes, the goddess
Yeah.
of healing towards Bridget. Yes, that was it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember.
and I think it's really the recognition of you for like, oh yeah, now I hear you, you know, and I think so here. Can you still hear me? Yeah. So you said, you know, I hear you, and we had a conversation about it, and you weren't like, oh, you know, no, that's not gonna be not like that. I think it was very much me being vulnerable, receiving on that. So I think if a lot of things in toxic sisterhood can be resolved by compassion and communication.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And you
knowing
did the
your own
right
shadow, but also kind of.
you did the right thing, Marion, in actually talking to me face to face. I think the trouble is nowadays email, social media is all there, and arguments, keyboard warriors can kick off at any time. So if there is an issue in sisterhood, whether it's family or community, talk to the person, go direct to the person. And that toxicity around people not really knowing the truth of what's going on, don't make it up, don't guess, don't add to it, don't create Chinese whispers. Go and talk to the person or people involved. Get to the truth.
Game. Like the telephone game when we were small, you know, the telephone game, you would say something into the ear of somebody else, and then you would go through many people until it comes out in the end. That's basically that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So for me, I think people do consciously act out though, Marion. People do. There are people who want to be better than you, want to take your shine away from you. There are people who want to steal your ideas, project their anger onto you, destroy your reputation, destroy your life. There are people like that.
Wow.
And that is the dark queen.
Yeah.
You know, the dark shadow energy. And I've certainly experienced that.
Yeah. Well, I've definitely, you know, I think all of us have experienced people, you know, taking work that you have developed away and teaching it as their own. I mean, everybody learns from each other. I think I said it in the last roundtable as well. Everybody learns from each other, and you pass on wisdom. But to take proper parts of what you have developed and then selling it as your own. I mean, I think also there's a lot of toxic. I'm quite shocked about what you say. I think my naive self really doesn't believe that people are doing this on purpose. I hear you. I hear you.
Well, if you think it, the way I get my head around it is coming from their wounding.
Yeah.
So it comes from not being able to feel confident in their own work, their own essence, their own soul. Probably going back to their childhood and how they were mothered. You know, if they weren't seen by their mother, weren't accepted by their mother, nothing is good enough. That creates all these different places in people that then gets acted out later on as they form their adult years. But that, you know, that dark queen energy is very much like the queen in the hive, the new queen coming out in the hive and going around stinging everyone. So that's why I, you know, as a sacred bee priestess, I always bring it back to the hive. So that is in the nature. It is in nature. It's survival of the fittest, you know, the strongest. She who dares wins, sort of thing. But in humanity, in love, in the goddess community, it doesn't necessarily appear like that. It can also appear in, if we're saying white and dark, you know, so that was a dark shadow. The white shadow is very much more subtle, but also just as damaging when someone wants to like be overtly your most special friend, your most special instant connection. And you can spot this. I've spotted this when people want instant intimacy with me. And they want all their emotional needs met by me. It's like I'm her mummy. I've got to supply everything. She also wants me to be her muse, her oracle. And she wants me to give without boundaries. And she wants me to save her. So I don't know whether that resonates with any of you as well.
Yes, I had that.
And you have to be perfect. You have to be perfect as well. So that's the sort of the white shadow. as opposed to the dark shadow, and I've worked with that quite a lot.
I had
But
that a
is
lot.
that sisterhood though? Is that sisterhood? Because when I think about sisterhood, I think about equals. And if you are in a student-teacher relationship or a therapist, I think it's a different relationship. And I'm not. I don't see. Maybe that's just me. I don't call just everybody a sister in my training, and my students will probably recognize this. I'm quite distant in the first year, especially, and the more I get more equal. And it's not about me being better than them or anything like that, but it's like there is a professional relationship.
Mhm.
And it's when they become priestesses, and then there is a sisterhood growing, and yeah, in the clan we're all equal, but it's there is a difference. And I think what you're talking about, the projection of mother, I've come across that as a teacher, but that for me is not that slightly different than the sisterhood. It's just for me.
Well, you can be idolized by anyone, a mother, a sister, a friend, a teacher. It's for me, it all comes under. It can come under the same umbrella. It just appears differently. It's presented in a different way, but it's still sister shadow.
Okay.
And it still comes from the mother wounding, so it's still there. But all of them, all of those sort of conscious or unconscious behaviors, to understand them, where they're coming from, and watch our own triggers. So for me, when I'm with a circle of sisters, I do really genuinely sit in circle as equals. So yes, I might know more. I might be the expert in whatever I'm teaching, but I can learn I learn so much. I'm sure you do too. You learn so much from your students. So that healthy sisterhood is that. It is, and also as a teacher and a facilitator, accepting everyone for all their woundings, because that's what they're here to come and heal without projecting anything. So that's the key. If anyone does start really projecting, attacking, as I sit in a circle of sisters, then that's different. That's different. And then that's a boundary that's overstepped for me. So
I learn it. That's how I learned it. Before I was also, I saw the sisters that would sit in circle with me, even though maybe I was the teacher, but also as equals. I had that same thing. And before, I think I was out of a place of really believing and really wanting sisterhood to work. So I would be like this the whole time. And not, I wouldn't set that much boundaries. So I let people into my life. Well, I was working all the time. I mean, I was teaching like 4 spirals at the same time. I was working every weekend, did not have a personal life. So I was like constantly involved in holding. And so I automatically, that white shadow came in until I really learned the boundaries. And I learned it the hard way when I got pregnant, because from that moment on, and they were people that were very close and very dear to me, and I saw them as my soul sisters, the ones that dropped away as soon as I became pregnant, because then I wasn't that available anymore, and I got hated really, it was really attacked for not being so available anymore, or actually, just starting to hold a boundary of, hey, I'm stepping over a threshold here, and I'm going into something new in my life, and people of, not accepting that I'm allowed to have that as well. So I've learned a lot out of it. And for me, looking back on it, it was a complete blessing, because it freed me. But in that moment, it was so painful, and I missed them dearly. But today I look back and I know that it was a protection from Goddess, because I had to make, my circle smaller also for my family, for my for my child and my husband, and just really be able to be in that sacred space. And then and in that sacred space, I have a couple of really amazing girlfriends that I've had for many, many years. And I also know I can always call them. They would always hold my back, just like my Rhiannon sisters. I always know that they're going to have my back. And it doesn't matter what would come. But in that moment, it was really painful. Yeah, I know that wounding very well.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of grief around it, a lot of grief that many women carry, that unprocessed stuff around it too. And how far does it go back, in our timelines as priestesses? When did this first come in? When did this first happen? And speaking, on the path of love, it probably came in the harems. When competition came in, who was the most pretty? Who was the most alluring? Who was the chosen one? And it starts at such a young age now. My granddaughter is 8, and she's experiencing this in the playground. Are you in my gang? Not in my gang. Too fat, too thin. All of that starts at such a young age. So how can we, as a goddess community and mothers, grandmothers, help the next generation not carry on the same patterns of behavior that they've either inherited or culturally is still going on?
I think it is really about, so Lily kind of asked that, it's like, it's really about strengthening the inner, really. And it's I mean, being a mom myself, and a daughter and son, it is, I'm not sure if I've done that well, but I think it is really about love. It is really about somebody knowing that they are loved in their core, in whatever they do, how they are, or if they're successful or not successful or whatever. No comparison, but I mean, it's so ingrained in our society. It's so ingrained. I mean, if you look at school, who gets the best mark gets, and who is better at sport. And there are so many ways that it's ingrained into our society and our conditioning to compare and to be compared.
We're constantly judged. Constantly judged or constantly judging others. Yeah.
And I think that is the, I mean, getting older, I can see it more. When I was small, you didn't even see the system that did it. Now you can see, and I can, even with my children, I can see, and I've stepped to teachers saying, no, this is not on. You're not doing that to my son or to my daughter, So I think it is what Lily says, being strong role models, all standing up for, for the generation, and being conscious about that this is constantly happening and speaking about it. I think I'm a Gemini, and maybe it's really about, for me, it's really about communication, bringing it out in the open, just speaking it.
And already speak to the young kids with it. I teach them the Moon Maiden for young girls and the Wild Teens.
Yeah.
And we talk about these topics all the time, and it's so important. I mean, I have 8, 9-year-old girls coming, and how they are already pressured from school and everything outside on how they think something has to be. And everything is so fast and so pressured. So I think the more that we can already teach the next generation or the young generation to actually love themselves and love each other and honor each other, that would be, that's a big key for the future. We have to.
It's so great you're doing that. It's so great. I mean, I can remember years ago there was a whole movement in America called the Rose Circle training, and it's a bit like the Red Tent. They were trying to get these groups for young women in schools. And it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened because I don't know why it hasn't happened. These ideas come, some people run with them, but another wave. Let's have another wave of supporting young women. Again, what a hard time to grow up in. You know, we think our generation is a hard time. You know, really now is tough, very tough on their emotions, their energy.
You know where I teach it? I teach it in the church on the other side of the road. So that is also changing. Let's talk about it. Let's sit and talk about it. And also the lady that's in charge, you know, for all the young kids, she loves to come and talk about all these things with me. And she thinks it's so great. And she would like more things to come in that also, you know, in the church over there that they start talking.
Do they let you call in Goddess, Steph? Do they let you?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. Because they have completely changed their policy. They said, we have to change. This is not working. And they welcome every religion. And they are looking for a new way of community. So they have been making that huge change, and that's what I love about them. Is that they have a feast when Ramadan is finished. They have international coffee. They have all kinds of stuff coming in. So they have already started to evolve and also change, and they have. They have all kinds of different workshops that they do, and they invite people to come and speak about it. So I think that's really great. So there is a change. I see a change coming, and it's really nice that they...
Well, that's amazing. Because, and actually, that edges on to other toxic organisations quite beautifully.
Exactly.
So I'm sitting here in my judgment of the church and toxic organisations ongoing, and you've put that forward as a beautiful way of moving forward.
Yes.
You know, so yeah.
I think it really does start with the young girls as well. Just really.
I think there's also a whole thing we haven't really touched upon. I think it's also the more and more priestesses there are, and the people doing the work that we are doing. There's also, I think there's also a financial thing that's happening. It's like, you know, I think people have, I'm definitely know this is my wounding. It's like, okay, how can I make my living from this, you know? And then it's like, this is also what happens with us. And she's like, oh, there's another one coming, you know? So, you know, how will I get my numbers? Will I be able to maintain my circle and my work, actually? And I think that is also, I think there's definitely some vulnerability. I think a lot of toxic sisterhood comes from wounding, so vulnerability. But I think if we would talk about even the financial, I think there's still also a big taboo on that. But, you know, the financial vulnerability of what we're doing and how to be able to support each other, I think that is also maybe something that's, I keep coming back to communication. I don't know what the other solution really.
There comes the wounding of even being allowed to exist, you know, as a woman. Because I mean, if you look back, it was really hard to survive if you didn't have a man with a title or, you know, with a good family. So if he would die, you wouldn't have that anymore. So it also became, for a lot of women, there's this life and death thing inside it as well.
Maybe that's still a little bit in our thinking as well.
I don't feel that in me. I don't feel that. I've always felt that you know, being a priestess and serving the community, serving students in whatever way that is, as a therapist or as a teacher, it's okay to charge for that. It's absolutely okay. It's and trying to make it available for everyone, no matter what their income is. But what I see now is some priestesses are deliberately going really high, 2 or 3 times what I would charge for courses or retreats. Now, is that a shadow, or is that just a marketing ploy? Are they choosing to do that deliberately? They're quite happy to have 3 or 4 high-paying clients rather than serving 20 clients who some can't afford it.
I think that's a trend also at the moment. Just like high-price coaching, it's also a big trend at the moment. I mean, so especially since COVID, a lot has changed in the business world.
So it's interesting to notice that in ourselves, but does that trigger something? So if the trigger's there, is that a wounding? It's, oh, well, they can earn £8,000 for whatever per person, and I'm only charging 200. You know, how does that sit? How does that feel? Is that toxicity? Is that, or is that just reality?
I think it's vulnerability. I think maybe it is really about people feeling safe, and especially women feeling safe to be vulnerable around each other. And I think there's but that's again comes back to trust. So you need to have trust to be vulnerable, and so it's a difficult cycle really that you get into, how to solve it. I'm just thinking about the question that Andrea and then also Lily said. It's like, how do we go forward? How do we go forward with this? Because how do we solve this? I mean, not for us to solve it tonight, of course, but you know, I
think is to call it out, bring it in. If we see toxicity and all these sister shadow aspects happening, I think at the stage I am in my life, if I see it happening, I can actually say something. I can find my voice. So many women don't feel they can voice things for fear. You know, they might work for the person who is causing trouble, and they might lose their job if they speak up. So, you know, how can we speak for the voiceless? How can we encourage them to find their voice and speak up for what they need and what they see?
We do have a question from Facebook. You already, I think, touched the one that Lily posted before, so I'd like to introduce the Chris one, which is, are there issues for priestessing the same as complementary therapies then? Charging, competition, who has been trained properly, etc.? Or is there a deeper side to toxicity in the goddess movement? Hot question. Angie, you do have I think you all have a very multifaceted background. You do therapies, you do healing, and then you do goddess movement. Is there something in common that you experience in those circles, or is the goddess movement, and let's think of it as a more ceremonial, in a way, path or a devotional path to goddess? Is there does that toxicity work in the same way in all those areas that you all touch, or is it different?
I think it's different.
I think it's different.
Why
you
is
want to
it
say something, Angie?
Yeah, I'm thinking back to times when I you know, in this lifetime I did have a career job. I did work for the establishment, and the toxicity there was very patriarchal toxicity, ingrained and very harsh to live with, and it was accepted. That was the thing to do. Whereas in therapy work, healing work, goddess spirituality, it's more undercover, it's more unsaid, unspoken, unseen, still there, but we're never really called out because we're spiritual. And it could be all part of goddess's plan, whatever's going on. I've heard that said.
It's very dangerous.
Very dangerous. Or, well, and this is partly true, it's everyone's soul's path, you know. You're having your experience. You're having your experience. So I wouldn't say goddess spirituality is more toxic than the mass at all. We're so lucky we've got our devotional practices, our beliefs, each other to have these conversations with, to help us grow, develop, and actually put it at the altar of goddess. A number of times I've been in situations which have been overwhelming. Just put it at her feet, whichever particular goddess I'm working with. You know, Sophia, Sanctuary Sophia, goddess of truth and wisdom. So there she goes. Thank you. Truth and wisdom. So yeah, very interesting question. Thank you for posing.
Yeah, I think for me, I think the difference is that there is an expectation of sisterhood. I think there is in the goddess community, and if you step into that, you know, what seems to be all really loving and you know, sisterhood, and there's lots of talk about it. Everybody says, oh, the beautiful sisterhood and all. So there's a lot of expectation, but in reality we're all just human beings. So I think the expectation, if you go into a normal job, which I also worked in a law company. Also, there are far more clearer rules there. You know, this is what you don't do, and this is what you do. And here it's like there are no rules. Everybody just does whatever, you know. So I think that those two, you have there is the big expectation of love and sisterhood, and everything is beautiful. And on the other side is also like there is no structure. You don't know exactly how to behave where and how. And while in the corporate world or in the work field, as you're employed, you have rules to do at work.
Absolutely, and also you're answerable.
Yeah. You're accountable and there are consequences if you behave in certain ways.
Exactly, which there isn't.
Yeah.
We have an input, which is Chris again. He says, I feel this topic and your previous ones is a sign of a really needed help to look at this area. So thank you. You're all very welcome for following us. I would like to introduce just a final note on this, which is a really, I mean, it could need a part 2 because it's such a huge topic. But I'm actually biologically and also as a gender, I'm a male. So, but I am into, for some reason, sisterhoods. They don't work like brotherhoods. So I'm into sisterhoods all the time. And from this tiny point of view, what makes my heart open to all of you is that I think it is so hard for you. It's much harder for you to build this kind of relationship because you are caged in the society since birth and like divided, and women are consciously divided by society or have been for many decades, many centuries. And so it is a really hard act of trust you do to enter a sisterhood. And I really honor that because when I see that, and I see that beautifully in the Goddess Conference, I see what you do to be in a sisterhood. There's also there is a path of sacrifice, a path of trust, let's say. There is a pact being woven there. And I see that because I feel how much it costs you as well to expose yourself, to be vulnerable to other ones when the world can be such a hard place for that to happen. Yes. So I see beauty in that. But also I wanted to say that it's really funny how when we bring sisterhood, I'm quoting Angie here, into the spiritual world, the sisterhood becomes like this holy word that well, if we look at real life, I mean, look at the relationships you have with your sister. I mean, if she's a real sister, like family sister,
blood sister,
you have days like blood sister. You have days where you go absolutely along, and days where you want to kill each other. I mean, so it's the word itself lends to, let's say, a much varied approach to a relationship. So I'm really puzzled sometimes when we think about healthy sisterhoods as those holy places where nothing can happen. It should happen. Conflict should arise. It's how it works with real sisters, and I think it's the way it could work with spiritual sisters as well. So do you think there should be those kind of healthy exchange where things can happen, and it's not like a holy place or sanctum where nothing can happen?
Yeah, absolutely. But as long as everyone can move through the emotions and energies and express them without getting stuck. So don't get stuck in the anger, don't get stuck in the desperation, stuck in the grief. Move through it, express it and move on healthily.
Yeah, and I think you kind of, and I mean, real blood sisters break up as well. So just saying that.
Yeah, true.
But I think there is a deeper trust. If I look into my own sister as well, you know, there is this underlying love and relationship and trust that even though something happens, you know that's there. But that's also because you've grown up together. And you've been through a lot together, and you have the same memories. So I do think time helps in sisterhood as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Time is healing for sure.
Yeah.
I still think that if like I said in the beginning, like a big key is to think what would I love? How would I like to see all the women engage with each other all over the world? For me, every woman on this planet is a sister. and I don't put other sisters or maybe sisters that are in the goddess movement above other sisters. I don't do that. For me, every woman on this planet is a sister, and I treat her up also accordingly, because I have in my core of a space of how I would love to see women engage with each other. And I think that when women come together, then mountains can be moved, and that so many new things can be achieved if women would just make that step towards each other. So for me, it's just really holding it onto that space and acting out of that space. And whatever comes from the outside is here to help me grow, and sometimes also to come and test me if that's really still the place that I want to hold on to. And through everything, it always was. So always going back to that place of what is it that I want to see in the world, how women are and interact with each other, and always go back to there and spread that, go out from there.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I mean, I would love to say, if only everyone could be their authentic selves, their real, authentic, truthful, soul-present self, and not feel they have to be someone else or act out and be someone else, then they're loved. So it's just easy then. It just flows.
Yes, in a beautiful world of goddess, it would be like that. May it be so.
So it is.
but it is a great. I feel Angie and Stephanie and Marion previously, you really pointed out something that is so simple that it's so easy to forget when we get into what we do in sisterhoods. We have many things to run, many things to develop, projects and happenings, events, trainings, everything. A lot is happening, and you're processing as well a lot from you, what comes from you, from others. So, but what you said is so simple, yet it's really, I feel, a genuine reminder of that. And talking about that, if you want to experience sisterhoods moving mountains, please remember to book your ticket for Goddess Conference this year. Join us this year for the 29th Glastonbury Goddess Conference, a joyful gathering of goddess-loving people, a 6 days in-person event in Glastonbury, Avalon, running from Tuesday 30th July to Sunday 4th August 2024, with the fringe events starting from Sunday 28th July. This year the theme is the Goddess of Healing. It's our maiden year, the first year of a new 5-year cycle. International presenters, transformative workshops and experiences, deep ceremonies on the sacred land of Avalon, community, art, fun, and love for Goddess. Let your healing journey begin this year. Join us for the Glastonbury Goddess Conference, Goddess of Healing. And please remember to join us with booking your ticket on goddessconference.com. And as Lily is saying in the chat, do come. Lily and all of us are waiting for you in Glastonbury this summer. I am so sorry that our time is up today, because we could go on for another 3-4 hours. It could be really a fantastic episode, but we'll make a part 2 maybe. So coming soon, part 2. I would love to thank you, the amazing priestesses of the ceremonial circle of the Glastonbury Goddess Conference here today. Thank you, Angie Twidle.
Thank you, darling.
Thank you, Marion Brigantia.
Thank you.
And thank you, Stephanie Allison Shudo.
Oh, thank you so much.
To all of you listening or watching us on YouTube or being here with us today on the Facebook Live, thank you so much for following. Please do comment and share this video, and please join us for this year's Maiden Year Goddess Conference. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
This is The Round Table, a talk show brought to you by the Glastonbury Goddess Conference. In this circle, the priestesses of the ceremonial circle, the weavers of our annual gathering, talk about pivotal topics about our community, spirituality,